All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a Sunday night here, getting ready for Sunday night baseball. Mariners, Game 6, ALCS. It's going to be a big one there, Greg. It's going to be a big one, but we're going to talk NFL because that is the straw that stirs the drink. Today, carnage everywhere, depending on who you played. It was just rampant sadness in the streets. I did not do well. Thankfully, I did a great, courtesy of Matt Kajeski, great with the college football DFS on Friday and Saturday. Shout out to him. Shout out to the Stokastic Sims. So easy, even this caveman can do it. How are you doing? And is Scuba happy? Have the Giants come back yet?
So the Giants have first and goal from the 1 yard line, down 26-30. So here's what will happen, because he's downstairs watching the game at my house right now. If they score in the next 30 seconds ago, I will hear him scream from downstairs before it updates on my phone, and then I will know. But yeah, he's at my house for another couple weeks or so, and then he goes down to Florida for the winter.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll keep us apprised here of that one. Sorry to say I'm rooting against him, because I have one last Survivor team that is still going, and somehow I chose Denver over Chicago. In any event, today, a little bit of active, inactive news. Brock Purdy out, third straight game. Same thing with Ricky Pearsall. Somehow, despite missing those guys and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle, who's coming back tonight apparently with no injury restrictions, 49ers are leading the league in passing yards, because of course they are. That's just how things work these days. On the other side, we do know that Darnell Mooney is going to be active tonight. He had been questionable, and even though he was limited in practice, the team did indicate that he was expected to play tonight, and he is active. MVS has been released with an injury settlement, so things are sort of stabilizing for the 49ers a little bit. We will see what happens, but expect a new sheriff in town with George Kittle, which is perfect, because next Sunday, Greg, it's National Tight End Day.
It feels like there's been a lot of National Tight End Day slate. So for the early games, the tight ends were terrible today. But then the afternoon, you got Gadsden, rookie from the Chargers. He had over 100 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Warren had a big game with a touchdown. Trey McBride had 2 touchdowns. Tucker Kraft scored a touchdown. For the Giants, Bellinger scored a touchdown. Theo Johnson scored a touchdown. So at least in the afternoon games, there was a lot of action for the tight ends. And by the way, Jackson Dart ran for a touchdown. So the Giants have retaken.
I was going to say, you should hear a roar.
Yeah. And then also the Giants have this kicker, McAtamy, who they signed after Graham Gano got hurt. He missed an extra point last week. He's missed 2 extra points today. So if the Giants so now the Broncos are going to get the ball back with 30 seconds left, only down 2, because the Giants kickers missed 2 extra points today.
Oh, good times. Well, we'll see. Even if I lose out here on my Survivor pool, we've got NBA right around the corner, Greg. And NBA means everybody wins, as we like to say here in the DFS streets. Nobody loses to NBA, but we will be getting a new sport. That is coming on Tuesday. There is a 2-game slate, and everything begins in earnest on Wednesday. So we've got a promo code for you guys. You can get access to the NBA Sims for the first 2 slates of the year for just $1. That is promo code SGA. Okay, that's key. That's pretty cool. But even better, if you use the promo code OKC, remember they won the championship, right? And SGA won the MVP. But promo code OKC gets you 20% off any NBA monthly or all access package. So you want to take advantage of this, because then no more sports are starting for a while. So here is your chance to get in on the fun. All right, Greg, we have the San Francisco 49ers getting by on smoke and mirrors. They have a 4-2 record. We've got Atlanta, who has already had their bye. They are at 3-2. So that means this will be what, the 9th start for Michael Penix Jr. That is interesting. Former University of Washington stalwart, at least for 2 years, previously at Indiana. The other fun note is Mac Jones leads the league in passing per game, and Purdy in his 2 games is second. So that is how the 49ers have ended up with the league's most passing yards per game. And it isn't even really close. They're about, I think when I looked, they were like 50 yards ahead of the 5th and 6th place teams. So it is, this is just crazy. Now, their running game, a little bit dicey, but Atlanta, this is going to be a strength on strength matchup. That Atlanta defensive backfield has been very, very good. So it will be fun to see how this plays out. It looks like we can get, we might, for pricing purposes, see some of the quarterbacks in the multiplier slots. That's a little bit of a surprise considering neither of them really run. Mac Jones is nimble in the pocket, but for his career in his starts, he averages just around 8 yards per game rushing. And then Penix had 3 or 4 years of season-ending injuries while he was in college, shoulder, knee, whatever it was. So he is fast, but he doesn't run often. And that is something we could see him scoot for a touchdown, but we don't really want to count on a lot of baseline yardage for him either. I think he's like, 6'4", 220 or whatever. He doesn't look like that on the field. He looks relative like a slighter built quarterback, the way everything's proportioned. But those are the 2 guys that are going to be leading the respective offenses. Talk to me. What are your initial thoughts here as we enter into Sunday Night Football? And last thing, Thursday was the precursor to National Tight End Day because the Steelers had 4 touchdowns to 3 different tight ends.
They played 4 tight ends. Not all of them scored. 3 of them scored, though, for the Steelers. So including Freiermuth going for over 100 yards with that, what was it, 68-yard touchdown towards the tail end of the game, which took the lead, which then they ultimately ended up blowing again. But, yeah, you saw a massive tight end game on Thursday Night Football. And if we're starting here by talking about the quarterbacks in the game, this shouldn't be a massive surprise to anybody, but I don't love either of the quarterbacks in the multiplier spot for all the reasons that Emac just mentioned. Mac Jones, minimal rushing upside. On the other side of the game, Michael Penix, minimal rushing upside. The other part of this, too, though, is there are so many high upside skill position players in this game. I mean, we've got Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson. So that's 2 of the top fantasy running backs. You've also got guys like George Kittle coming back from injury. You've got Drake London, who's had some massive games since Penix has been the quarterback. So it seems pretty unlikely to me that with limited rushing upside that either of these quarterbacks will be the top scoring players. So not really for me in the multiplier spot. They're also showing up pretty well underweight in the Sims, at least Mac Jones is, because you got Jones 11% owned in the captain. So he is projected to be the 3rd highest owned captain. Sims coming in underweight to the field to him in that spot. As far as the flex goes, I think the quarterbacks look really solid in the flex. I like getting to Mac Jones and Penix in the flex spot, but I'll pass on them as captain options, Emac.
All right, let's take a peek here at the passing games. We mentioned George Kittle's coming back. He was injured in the opener. I think it was a hamstring. So the coaches have said he is not going to have, I believe their quote was pitch count in honor of the baseball playoffs. But how we parse that out is we want to remember that Kittle, despite having 3 of the 12 most prolific days as a tight end in NFL history from a yardage standpoint, he is, and those were with
the Broncos won, by the way. They got a field goal at the end.
The Broncos? Are you kidding me? Oh,
they did. So
do you need to go have a wellness check with your dad just real quick?
I hear some stomping going around, but yeah. So what happened here?
I was just going to look.
Yeah, with no timeouts left, they're just two big plays. Stop the clock with a spike, and then made a field goal to win the game, 33-32.
Oh, any given Sunday. Ray is a Giants fan. I can't remember what his first initial of his last name is, but Ray, my apologies. My apologies. When we go back to Kittle here, key things you want to remember is he is a key part of the blocking for the 49ers. So he has not been overly targeted, but we haven't seen him with so many of the pass catchers injured or out, because again, he was out as well. So it'll be fun to see what happens. Jake Tongas is likely to maintain a reasonable role, but he may be the pass catching option. Now, Kittle can break the slate at any time. We've seen it. What was it, like a Dallas Cowboys game 2 or 3 seasons ago on a primetime slate where he had like 3 touchdowns or something crazy like that, right? So he can do it at any time. We don't want to not play him by any stretch. Nice double negative there. But it may not be as many targets as he can handle because he is such a good blocker. And we've seen the 49ers running game struggle somewhat. So that is something to think about. You have Jauan Jennings playing through 5 fractured ribs. So he has had a little, I don't know what the right term is, maybe not mobility, but catching, moving his arms. He has been more of a blocker. I think that kind of maintains for a little bit here, but we've got some ancillary options there. How do you see the 49ers passing game for tonight under Mac Jones? Crazy.
Yeah. So one thing too, I don't think that Tongas is going to be the pass catching tight end. I still think it's going to be Kittle. So in the first game of the season before he got hurt, Kittle played like a quarter and a half. He had 4 catches for 25 yards and a touchdown. I think if I remember correctly, he was my most rostered tight end in week 1, and he played in the afternoon. I was like, boy, I've got a lot of good looking live lineups with Kittle in it. And he started off really well. And then all of a sudden he was done for the game. I think actually I had one lineup that finished like 8 points out of first place in the big contest in owner's box week 1 with George Kittle in. I was very disappointed. But anyway, the relation to tonight's slate is I do think that he's going to be a go-to guy in the 49ers passing game. I actually would expect, considering the injury that Jauan Jennings is playing with, I would expect Kittle to be the number 1 pass catcher for the 49ers today. There does become a question of, I know they say there's going to be no restrictions. Will there actually be no restrictions? I'll take them at their word, even though coaches often lie. And I think that if I am going to roster 1 pass catcher from the 49ers, I would lean more towards Kittle. The issue with some of the other pass catchers for the team is you've got Kittle coming back, and all of the other guys are priced up as if he is still out. So you've got Kendrick Bourne, who's been really good as of late, but he's $8,200. Jauan Jennings is $7K, so he's maybe not priced all the way up, but he's playing with, as you said, Emac, 4 broken ribs. So I don't know how much I trust him. I'm only getting to 14% of Jauan Jennings. And then also, what is Kendrick Bourne's props for this game? Let's see. I remember them being fairly low. They are receiving props for Kendrick Bourne. They are sitting at not all that low, 48.5 though. So not like for a guy who's priced at $8,200, you're going to have the decision point of like, do I want to play the quarterbacks? Do I want to play Kendrick Bourne? Do I want to find the extra salary to go up to Christian McCaffrey or Bijan Robinson? I find Kendrick Bourne pretty hard to get to at the salary that he's holding. For reference also, George Kittle is quite a bit higher props than Kendrick Bourne does, and he's also less expensive. So Bourne's going to be tough for me to pay the salary of. And then also you start to go down the depth chart for the 49ers then, and it's, all right, Demarcus Robinson, another guy who's going to lose out on some targets with Kittle coming back. I find it really hard to get to very many of the 49ers pass catchers for myself, really, Mac. The one guy who I have a decent chunk of is Kittle, and that's really it on the 49ers side for me.
Okay, that makes sense. Others who are going to lose out, Kyle Juszczyk. He has needed to block more with Kittle out, and he has been getting, I think it's like around 2 opportunities a game. So that's a little more than what he usually sees. He's been on I'm guessing he'll be on the field for about 25 to 30% of the snaps tonight. Demarcus Robinson, as you mentioned, he missed the first 3 games of the year due to his suspension. So that sort of limited him getting, acclimated with the new team and taking advantage of everybody being out here. So I agree that we don't want to go away from Kittle, but it's just I just have this little nagging trepidation there in looking to him. If we turn our what?
Jose Morales in chat said, just mentioned something on Tungus. His receiving yard prop is 10.5 for today. And there's also a point too, where he's not all that cheap either. He's not, like breaking the bank to pay for him, but at $4,400, somebody with a 10.5 receiving yard prop, it's hard, especially because our projections, they're balanced out by some of the sportsbook totals and some of the props. It's going to be really hard for somebody to project all that well when they have a 10.5 yard receiving prop, because what are you going to do? You're going to project him for 40 receiving yards at 4x what the sports books have him at. Let's see. Does FanDuel even have an alt line for him? They don't. But yeah, I mean, if his receiving yard prop is 10.5, it's going to be hard for me to project him for, like 10 fantasy points or something like that when he's, sports books are projecting him the equivalent of like 2 fantasy points. So that's where he kind of falls by the wayside for me. But there's many more interesting pass catching options on the Falcons side.
All right. Let's hit the Falcons side, and then we might answer Ray's question here. He says, gentlemen, because of pricing, it seems like a punt play might be necessary. Do we agree? If so, who do we like, and what's the lowest price you would go to? Well, let's talk about Atlanta, see if anybody pops up there, and then we can kind of toss out a few ideas here of what we may see for the cheap guys, and we'll also hit the running game as well. So for Atlanta, it has been Drake London, who I think is very viable in DraftKings as he's going to be my cash game guy in the multiplier slot, I believe. But he has been strong this season. So even though they've only played 5 games, he is top 10 in targets, receptions, and yards. Last year, he was top 10 in all of these categories as well. We know what we're getting with him. An excellent kind of second level receiver, not that third level. He does get a ton of downfield work. It's becomes a little bit average in that aspect of the game, but in short and intermediate routes, he is outstanding. So he's interesting. We've seen Kyle Pitts sort of embrace, or the coaching staff embrace him more as that Dalton Kincaid type, that Mike Gesicki, sort of the tight end. It's like, all right, well, we're just going to kind of have you be a receiver. So he gets some of the short and intermediate work. Ray McLeod is away from the team, so he's out of the picture. But Darnell Mooney, a capable mid area receiver as well. So that's kind of crowded there. And then you've got Bijan Robinson, who already has 200-yard receiving games and is sort of like Christian McCaffrey light here. What do you see aside from the main Atlanta contributors? I mean, and where do you rank London, Pitts, and is there a third guy that's worthy of talking about?
Yeah, so one thing I do really like about Drake London, so you see Drake London is projected for single-digit ownership in the captain spot. So the guys who are going to be the most popular in the captain spot, which this should be surprising to absolutely nobody, Emac. Christian McCaffrey, north of 20% owned in the multiplier spot. Bijan Robinson, just under 20% owned in the multiplier spot. I like going to a single-digit Drake London in the multiplier spot to save some salary, differentiate my lineups off of the stud running backs as well. So not to say I don't like Drake London in the flex spot. I do, but he's my favorite contrarian. And, it's not like he's 1% owned in the captain / MVP spot or anything like that, but he is my favorite contrarian, as in just single digit owned, not one of the stud running backs in the multiplier spot. So that's a utility I really like for Drake London. As far as other pass catchers go, Kyle Pitts is $5,800, and this is a slate where we are really hurting for salary savings per Ray's question before. So we'll talk about some cheapies to get to as well. But Kyle Pitts, when he's only $5,800, that is something that is going to be appealing to me. And outside of last week's game against the Bills, one thing that's been interesting about Pitts, he's been fairly consistent. 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown, 6 for 39, 5 for 37, 8 for 59. On a single game slate where he's priced in the 5K range, if we're getting his normal like 10, 11, 12 fantasy points, I'd feel pretty good about that, Emac. So I think that Kyle Pitts is underpriced for this game, and he's one of my favorite mid-range options. So Drake London in a multiplier spot, and then Kyle Pitts is a flex play. Those are a couple of options that are pretty appealing to me.
All right. Do you have a cheapie for Ray?
So it depends what he's talking about as far as cheap guys, because I don't have a lot of exposure to cheap guys, like to any one individual cheap guy, I should say, where I'm getting to. And let's see if this run of Sims, kind of similar. So see like Sky Moore showing up in some lineups. You got Malik Turner in some lineups. You've got Felipe Franks in some lineups, Luke Farrell. I'm kind of spread out. I have a bunch of guys who are sub 1K who I've gotten 2 to 6% lineups, but there's not one guy I look at and say, oh, that's the guy. If I have to pick one, it's Sky Moore, just because he projects the best for us and he shows up in the most lineups in the Sims. But I kind of prefer a spray and pray approach on the low end Emac. And I do think it is kind of necessary for today when you consider how many high end guys we have that project really well, not just the quarterbacks, but Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Drake London. So if you're playing one lineup and you need one to choose, I'm going to tell you Sky Moore. But the way I have my lineup situated, I'm pretty spread out, taking chances on a bunch of these guys and having each of them in a few lineups apiece. Because, none of these guys are projecting for like 3-4 fantasy points. A bunch of guys who are projecting for, let's see, what do we got? We got Sky Moore in for, what is it? Yeah, Sky Moore for 1.4 fantasy points. Then you got some of these other guys down here project like 0.7, 0.2 fantasy points. So I think the way to go is mix and match and kind of be stable with going stars and scrubs for today. But do you feel differently? Is there one low end punt guy who you are, for whatever reason, confident in?
No. So the challenge with Sky Moore, he's really had snaps in just one game, and I think that was when Jennings was hurt. It was earlier in the season. Otherwise, he's only on the field for around 6 to 8 offensive plays. He is the lead kick returner, both for kickoffs and punts. Remember when he was Butterfingers with Kansas City on the punt return game? So good to see that he has consolidated that. But it's tricky. If you look at Malik Turner, I don't mean, does he even have a target this year? Malik Turner. No, he does not have an offensive touch. So that makes it a little bit tricky, but you're looking at $200 and $800 there. And that's really a function of what they are. And we're now with the real, hey, we are just paying to have someone who might be on the field, and we will be thrilled if they get a target. Even if they don't catch it and they got a target, that probably paid off their low salary with whatever else they allowed you to facilitate there. And I wish I had picked a different shirt here. I see that someone is telling me I look nude. I don't have my ring light up here. I just need to get a ring light for this place.
I am confused what it is about what you're wearing, because it's there was never a point in time where we started the show where I was looking, it was like, where I was like, oh yeah, Emac not wearing clothes today. I am a little mixed up on how people got confused on that.
I mean, it's a little dark here. But this is a real shirt. Apparently my cup matches this shirt pretty closely as well. It's a little snort there. It's Florida colors. I'm suddenly wearing pastel. I was looking and I've got 9 shirts that are light blue or light green seafoam, whatever. And I'm like, I think I've worn different ones, but like the last 4 shows I've been wearing some sort of pastel green or light blue. So I went for this different look. And with my swarthy tan, clearly, that's confusing people. But this is after dark. So you want to check out my OnlyFans page.
Late night show. If people would have known I'm not wearing pants, I'd be concerned. Like, how could you tell that from watching the camera? But yeah, like I always could tell you were wearing a shirt today.
Yes. Ray says hard to tell. Pat McAfee. Well, I don't wear tank. Doesn't he wear tank tops on the show? Don't get me started on that. All right, back to reality, back to life. Again, these punts here, probably don't expect a target for those in the $1,000 or less phase. If we look at the running backs, to quickly hit on them, we know we are looking at 2 of the best running backs in the game. They're number 1 and number 2 in yards, scrimmage yards this season. McCaffrey is basically like a top 5 receiver at this point and adding 50, 60 yards rushing per game. Bijan Robinson is excellent in the PPR phase of it. Brian Robinson Jr. has not seen very much action backing up McCaffrey. He's hardly getting on the field, but when he is on the field, he does get touches, because that's kind of the whole point is, hey, we're not going to completely destroy Christian McCaffrey. But it seems they have leaned into the let's keep winning, let's keep playing him. Reinforcements are on the horizon, and at some point either he will get hurt or there'll be enough guys back where they probably start, there'll be enough other playmakers that they don't have to give him the ball all the time. That's not a concern for tonight, but it's kind of an interesting twist for someone who was injured the majority of last year. And then Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier could probably be a starting running back easily on 8 to 10 teams right now. He's definitely starting caliber. He has 10 or more carries in 4 of the 5 games. 2 of the games he has 16 carries. Doesn't get a lot in the passing game. We know he's a capable receiver, but when you've got Bijan Robinson, you're getting that from him. Algier to fully be a difference maker tonight is probably going to need to get a touchdown. But I think he has 3 on the season, so that's not out of the question. But 2 of them kind of came in that closing role here. Who knows? We can't write off the 49ers. We learned that when they ended up beating the Los Angeles Rams. But Algier is solid, not spectacular, right? Brian Robinson Jr. probably needs something to happen to McCaffrey, or a completely lopsided game where they pull McCaffrey. So it's tough outside of that. But we've got like 7 excellent top end options, and we don't have the money to, where are our savings? And it's really not with the position players. So anything about either offense, or shall we hit on special teams? And then you can talk about what you're seeing in the Sims there.
Yeah, Algier's pretty expensive for a backup running back, but somehow the Falcons find a way to give him and Bijan a lot of touches pretty much every game. So there was one odd game where Algier only had 1 carry for 4 yards against the Panthers. But I mean, that game was weird for multiple reasons.
They lost 30-0 to the Panthers.
Like the Falcons beat the Commanders 34-27. They beat the Bills 24-14 last week. They beat Minnesota in Minnesota. Their other loss was to Tampa Bay, and that was a 3-point game. But for whatever reason, they lost 30-0 to the Panthers. So that one game, Algier had 1 carry for 4 yards. He's at least 10 carries in every other game this year, Emac. I think we could pretty reliably expect Algier to get somewhere around 10 carries just based on what his workload has been. And he also has gotten 16 carries in 2 games this year, one against the Commanders and one against the Vikings. So Algier is not your typical backup running back. A lot of people might look at the $5,200 and kind of get sticker shock on that salary for a backup running back, but he's going to get a lot of touches. Bijan Robinson's going to get a lot of touches. There's going to be a lot of touches to Drake London. There's going to be some to Kyle Pitts and some to Darnell Mooney. And in all likelihood, nobody else on the Falcons is going to touch the football. They have a very condensed offense. So it's hard to prioritize Algier because of the reasons you said. We're kind of at a squeeze salary where we really want to be paying up for these spend up guys. So I can't really prioritize Algier, but I'm okay with him being in some lineups at $5,200. In general, the mid-range options as far as skill position players go, I'm on the same page as you, Emac. I get to a little bit of Kyle Pitts, a little bit of Tyler Algier, but I don't have very much exposure to other guys in the mid-range. My lineups are at least skill position players in mid-range, defenses, kickers, they're showing up. But I'm pretty heavy stars and scrubs for this slate.
No, and it makes sense to go that path. Other guys I'm just quickly looking that we didn't really mention. Charlie Warner, now the last couple of years he's been with Atlanta. I don't think we get points for the Remember Me game, but it's not impossible. Casey Washington is probably going to disappear again. He had sort of been the guy that fills in when Mooney was out, almost like a direct replacement. We hit on Demarcus Robinson. We talked Jake Tungus. Yeah, so those are our cheapies. If we look at our kickers, you've got John Parker Romo. He played last year, stated that he preferred to go by Parker Romo instead of John Parker Romo. So that has given that change has mucked up a few projection systems out there, at least it was this morning. So he has replaced Younghoe Koo, who has been released by Atlanta. Romo he's adequate. He played for a few different colleges where he was mostly the kickoff specialist. He played for the San Antonio Brahmas in the XFL for their 1 or 2 seasons that they had. He was their kicker for one of the seasons for a hot minute. He had a 57-yard kick return, which was the league record. That was then beat later in the season. Somebody went for 59. But he is 8 for 11 right now for Atlanta. So they've got to be at least happy with that. Both of his misses were in that weird Carolina game, that 30-0 loss. If we look to the 49ers, they've got Eddie Pinheiro going tonight. What do we know about him? Adequate, I guess, is the word. Adequate. Nothing exciting.
Yeah, so somebody brought it up in chat too. It's actually, I just realized that it's our friend Nick saying how the Giants could have used Koo. Yeah, Koo's on the Giants practice squad. I don't know. There's no way he could be worse than this guy who's kicking for the Giants right now. I mean, the Giants lost by 1 point. He missed 2 extra points today, and he missed an extra point last week. Also, Emac, going back to his time in college, he's never made a field goal of 50 yards or longer. I have no clue how this guy landed on an NFL team. Never in his life, in a professional game or an amateur game, has he ever made a field goal of 50-plus yards. Can't even make extra points, and somehow the guy's kicking for the Giants. Younghoe Koo currently on the Giants practice squad. I presume he's going to be kicking for the Giants next week. As far as today, historically, we've done the research here. Kickers and defenses are very under-owned in showdown slates. We do have modest price points and ownership on the kickers and defenses. We're really hurting for salary savings. It's not like we're looking for 12, 13 fantasy points out of these guys, but 49ers defense, Emac, at 4K, we've got them projected for 6 fantasy points. That's enough for them to show up in 29% of lineups. The Falcons at $3,800 are projected for 7 fantasy points. That's enough for them to show up in 36% of lineups. You got Parker Romo at 5K, projected for 8 fantasy points, showing up in a third of lineups. We've only got these guys projected for 4, 5, 6, 7 fantasy points, and it's enough for them to show up in a chunk of lineups. I think if you guys want to save salary today, kickers and defenses look like the way to go, which is pretty common for how our data shows some of these showdown slates to go.
Yep, that would be correct. When we look at the defenses, again, Atlanta is legit. They, in addition to having a really good secondary, that's allowing them to get sacks. They ended up, I think they got 4 or 5 against Josh Allen when they upset the Bills. That gives them 15 total through their 3 games. So that is kind of this is not the Atlanta defense that NFC South. God, all these defenses suck outside of Tampa anymore. They're actually pretty good. I'm playing around with some configurations that have them in my main lineup, but that remains to be seen if I can stomach that. We have 16 minutes to go until lock here. The 49ers defense is a whole lot of They're missing a lot of key players. Fred Warner's is out. Bosa is out for the whole season, and then they're missing at least 2 people on all 3 levels in their rotational depth pieces, which we know in the NFL is crucial because most of the defensive players only play about 70% of the snaps because they're constantly rotating people in to keep them fresh and to keep them, for the different sets. So that starts to hurt teams when you're missing not only the playmakers but actually the depth there. Shout out, I saw Nick was in there, my grandson. You can follow him on Twitter, Notorious FNTSY. Former Stokastic alumni here. He is chugging along in the fantasy streets, so we want to give him a quick shout out since he has done many a Sunday night football game here. It's kind of an exclusive club, Greg. We I am the lone constant. We rotate people around because I'm the only one that wants to hang out on a Sunday night. So.
I'm here with you. I'm here.
Well, you're the exception. You never stop working, ever. Like you
That's
get
true.
forced
I
by
have
the
very little
CEO
going on
to
in
go
my life.
take vacation. He forces you to take vacation.
Yeah, I don't have very many things going on in my life. I hang out here. I talk sports with you guys. I like it. It's fun. It's fun by me.
All right. We got 15 minutes. Are you doing one last sim run there? Are we good to go? Do you want to start calling out some things that you are seeing in them? Any weird lineups? The spray and pray approach, are the sims doing that for you? Are you putting your thumb on the scale? If somebody wants to put their thumb on the scale, what's the best way to do that with the Stokastic tools?
Yeah, we could look at some of the most duped lineups here in the latest run, and then we'll tell people if you guys didn't know, NBA packages are also up over at Stokastic. So we'll tell you about that in a second here. But first, also, we'll show you guys some of the dupes. Let me just zoom in on this. And you guys could see one thing that's interesting, Emac. We do not have a crazy high amount of dupes for this slate. We're not seeing lineups that are duped like 300-400 times in the 50,000 sim runs or anything like that. But your most duped lineups, also interestingly, it's kind of a mix of players. It's a lot of times we'll do these shows and it'll be like, hey, look, Pat Mahomes is in 7 of the 8 most duped lineups in the multiplier spot. It's pretty spread out here. If you look at the most duped lineups, the multiplier, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, McCaffrey, Mac Jones, another McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Mac Jones, McCaffrey. So I guess skewed a little bit more towards McCaffrey, which makes sense because he's a little bit over 20% owned in the captain spot, but still a pretty good mix of guys that we're seeing there. Overall, the most duped lineup, and still only 3 in the 50,000 lineup set that are showing up with more than 100 dupes. The number 1, it's Kittle, Bijan Robinson, McCaffrey, Falcons defense, Kyle Pitts, Parker Romo. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Falcons defense again, Kyle Pitts, Parker Romo, Tyler Algier. And then this one also with a George Kittle there in the captain spot. But yeah, pretty good mix of lineups here, Emac. We're seeing some different things, although generally it's one or both of the running backs in these lineups, the quarterback showing up, one of the kickers, but nothing that we're looking at as a lineup that's expected to be played, hundreds to thousands of times or anything like that.
All right, I'm getting ready to go here, but those promo codes, guys, pay attention. If you want to dabble in NBA, we got the first 2 slates, just $1. That is promo code SGA in honor of MVP and NBA champion Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We also have 20% off any NBA monthly or the all access monthly package. We don't do the all access ones too often. So that is 20% off with promo code OKC. So do not dally, do not delay. These will disappear at the end of the day. Well, not today, but a day. I was on a roll there, and then I was like, I'm going to give bad information. We don't want to do that.
It happens. I get it. You try to improvise a little bit, and you try to get a little clever and cute, and then you're like, what the hell am I talking about? I do that all the time.
Oy, good times. Good times. I got a feeling. Woo-hoo. Fergalicious. There we are. Let's do we have questions coming in here? I'm kicking off my sims. I'm downloading my template. I will let you know what I run out. Oh, one thing I want to talk about with the sims here. So I build mostly 50 lineups. I've gone from 100 down to 50 in college football. The last 2 years, this is my 3rd year, I focus on 50 lineups for the Showdown slates. And I think it's a little bit more manageable for what I want to do here. You can get the really good quality lineups. You can kind of eyeball most of them yourself. And this isn't to say that, the 150s, they're not bad lineups by any stretch, but I have found in my lane, it's easier to focus on those groupings than to go super crazy. A lot of the other guys here go with 150. A lot of the apex predators throughout the DFS world go with the 150. But there are many ways you can use the sims. And then, of course, we have the single lineup sim as well. That's for the hand builders to also harness the power of the different Stokastic tools here. All right, nothing exciting there. So let me see what I've got. How many uniques do you put for Showdown? Do you do 2, 3? Do you let it be?
Yeah, so I am currently doing 2. I think what Tom has been doing is pretty interesting too. So Tom Kennedy, our CEO, if you guys didn't see, actually him and Rich Green, Rich, who does a lot of our projections for us, he's a data scientist. Him and Tom split first on the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate. And Tom actually posted about what his strategy is that he's been running. And what Tom does is for 150 lineups, he does 3 uniques for his first 100 lineups, and then he does 2 uniques for the final 50 lineups that he selects. So I've been running 2 uniques as of late for Showdown just to get a little bit more of a mix in my lineups. But it is interesting to me that Tom has been going with 3 and then down to 2 and kind of breaking his lineups up that way. So if somebody's looking for a strategy of somebody who's been really successful using our tools and just being to Showdown slate and Tom, that is what Tom's been doing.
All right. So again, many ways to use the tools here. Do not be afraid to try them out. And then during the week, Loughy and Greg do quite a few shows, both for the single lineup sim and for the regular simulator. Josh works with the single lineup sim at the end of his morning show. I think we'll be seeing the morning grind back again in some form or fashion. I know Josh has been in the lab building out all sorts of nifty tools and some other things. He shared a couple of those with me via Slack chat a couple days ago, which I think are pretty nifty. So we're going to have you guys covered for the NBA for sure. Do you want to mention tails at all as we start to wind down here?
Absolutely. Actually, I'll give a little bit of a cheat to you guys too. I'm whispering, so we'll keep it quiet. So I am giving away a free week of NFL Stokastic Sims. And this was technically for the main slate that I did this giveaway from, but I am not going to pick my winner until tomorrow morning, which is going to be announced on the NFL Strategy Show tomorrow. But pinned to my profile over on Tails. So if you guys go over to tails.bet or download the Tails app, you'll find it here. You will see pinned here. I have 5 top sim ROI lineups for DraftKings and FanDuel. If you head on over to Tails and you like this post, you're going to be entered into a giveaway to win a free Stokastic Sim sub. And since I'm not actually picking the winner until tomorrow morning, there's still time to go over to Tails and enter this if you haven't already. One other reason you might want to go to Tails is just to get a bunch of free bets, content information as well. Emac's been doing baseball write-ups. He also, of course, Emac in general is still the godfather of written DFS content. So you guys could find all different kinds of written content for Emac. I haven't asked Emac what his plans are for NBA season, but I presume that every once in a while he'll throw some nice little nuggets up there for you guys on Tails for NBA slate. So follow myself, follow Emac, follow Loughy, Ben, Eric, all of us. We're posting all different kinds of bets and whatnot, or just generally free DFS content up here. It's free to download the app. You could also turn on notifications. When I post a bet, it'll get sent right to your phone, and that'll be a way that you are going to be able to get the best lines before they move. So, for instance, my overall favorite bet of the week, Emac, it was Devontae Adams to score a touchdown. I bet that at plus 120 earlier in the week, right when lines came out. It closed at a much worse line than I bet it at plus 120 and it closed at like minus 120. But if you would have had Tails downloaded and alerts turned on, then what would have happened is you would have gotten that bet at the absolute best odds. And you see here from Lucas Smith says, cashed 6 out of 7 days this week, following my picks on Tails. And once again, it's all free. So download the Tails app and turn on notifications. It's just the additional free content and value they're trying to give out to you guys.
I like that. That has helped me actually win a few. Now I'm in a state where I cannot use sports wagering. Really, I mean, I've got the social sites and I've got Hard Rock because I'm here in Florida. That's all there is. But I've been doing a lot on Underdog, on some of the other prize picks, etc. But I'm using Tails, looking at the experts, looking at the collabs. There's tons, as Greg mentioned, there's tons of free content. Even the premium folks outside of the Stokastic world, they're putting out usually 1 or 2 free picks a day as well. So it's very helpful to generate ideas. And I may see, hey, they like this yardage play. I don't have that because the pick'em sites don't always put up every number. I look at it, what could I do with fantasy points? Does it make sense to do something different? So it helps you quickly find things that people are working on. And then I kind of love the collaborations. That's where 2 or 3 people get together and they're each giving one of their best bets. And a lot of those just are promo ones to come out in front of the paywall. So you're getting something good from everybody, right? So those are fun to jump on. So check out Tails. It's a lot of fun.
And Green Checkmark says he won the free week last week for liking Tails. And I responded in chat with this. Yeah, I never know because I go in to see who liked the post and I, see what people's like actual name is. But obviously his legal name is not Green Checkmark. So when, I come on the show, I'm like, hey, Phil whatever one, I won't actually know who that is in YouTube chat. So yeah, cool to see that one of the regulars in there ended up winning. Also lets people know that, yeah, we actually are announcing winners and giving these things away. I'm not just doing it to boost engagements. I'm actually putting in work to fairly figure out who liked the post and trying to figure out, a fair way to do a randomized giveaway.
All right. Favoriting and uploading here, Craig, really quick.
Ooh.
So
anything that ended up different with the final version of your lineups than you were expecting?
Yeah, I got a little more. Some Tyler Algier is popping up in some of the better ROI lineups in the flex. I ended up with a little bit more Mac Jones in the lineup spot, but again, I'm building just 50 lineups. So it's I look at this and it's like, oh my God, how much of this do I have? And then you're like, oh, well, I have 3 lineups. So percentages, it's more than I expected. But when you look at something like that, you're like, well, okay, that's easier to get over the field in some of these representations. So long story short, Mac Jones in the multiplier kind of surprised me. He was coming in earlier. I thought about him as my main slate or my main lineup guy. I ended up going with Drake London in that. But Mac Jones, it's just working out with his salary that is getting us to all those other skill position players who have the multi-touchdown upside. We've mentioned that he and Penix aren't much for running, but the way the salary is a thing in DFS, which is the crux of everything. So sometimes the tried and true rules get broken. And that's something that the simulations and the expected ROI is teaching us, that the things that made sense at the time aren't always like that in reality, now that we have the power of the computers behind us.
These are true. These are true things. Another thing, too, is if you're playing in the really large field contests, you'll often see a lineup that comes out looking pretty good from an ROI perspective and be like, why would I ever want to play this lineup? The reality is one of the best values to large field tournaments for Showdown is just building lineups that the field isn't playing that still project fairly well. And oftentimes that's just by combining unique players. Like, for instance, who would have thought on Thursday Showdown that you would want to play 3 tight ends from the same team? It probably didn't cross your mind, but at the end of the day, it was something that ended up being a pretty valuable and certainly unique lineup sort of build. But sometimes just building lineups like that, even if they seem really bizarre, if they project decently and it's a certain lineup combination that the field wouldn't want to play, that's probably unique enough to make it a good lineup overall. There's a lot more value in unique lineups on Showdown than just being like, hey, I'm playing Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, like Drake London and the quarterbacks or something like that. Yeah, sometimes it's just trying to find unique combinations that people might not want to play. Hey, we almost made it through the whole show without a bot, and then they showed up at the very end here.
I know, I got it. 1-0, as you like to tell Loughy.
You were quick on that one.
It's because my lineups are uploaded, because you're an outstanding co-host here, because Greg's doing all the heavy lifting. He's way better at the screen sharing and navigating all this, and he's building out his lineups, and he's answering all your questions, and he's letting you guys see behind the scenes here. So that is all key. We might see Greg doing a little more behind the scenes NBA stuff, leveraging off. If you guys love what Josh does on his strategy show, The Morning Grind, etc., how he sort of shows you underneath the hood on how he reads things and the if-thens that could happen with NBA minutes. You may get something a little fun coming here from Greg as these slates allow. You can't get wonkiness on every NBA slate.
I'm going to pull this up right here.
Oh, perfect. But you get wonkiness on most of the NBA slates. So
I was trying to pull up my Yeah, I was gonna try to pull up my sheet on screen, but I don't have it on this computer right now. But I did put up a little bit of a preview video. I have a new piece of NBA content that I am going to be doing this year that Emac was kind of alluding to, which hopefully you guys like. It'll be over on the OddsShopper channel, but basically showing you guys how I originate some spreads for games, going through my model, showing it on screen. I made it much more visually appealing, which was a suggestion per Emac when I showed him the initial version of it. If you guys go over to OddsShopper, you'll see I put out a video a couple days ago just looking at one of the games for next week. So, yeah, I have some new NBA betting content that I am pretty excited about. But also, before we get out of here, Emac, I've got to read some phone numbers. Do you have any final thoughts for the people?
No, call 1-900-MIX-A-LOT to get those nasty thoughts. Baby got back.
Of course, of course. So today's show, it is sponsored by DraftKings Pick 6, where if you guys are a new Pick 6 customer, your first $5 in Pick 6 sets, that will get you $50 in bonus picks. So go take advantage of that. But if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Just call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus, valid only where Pick 6 operates. See dkng.co/pick6 states. Void in New York and Ontario and where prohibited. Eligibility restrictions, they do apply. One per new DraftKings customer. Your first $5 in first pick sets to receive a maximum $50 issued as non-withdrawable bonus picks that expire in 14 days. This offer ends on November 3rd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms and conditions can be found at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. Sponsored by DraftKings.